Hi, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us for a second week of Workforce Readiness. This week we'll be taking a look at what workforce readiness means, and we'll also talk about what you could expect for the next weeks. During the next weeks, we'll have presentations that will take a look at a couple of very important aspects of workforce readiness. These presentations will take a look at four overarching elements. Namely, these presentations will take a look at number one, self-discovery, two, job readiness skills, three, job seeking skills, and four, job keeping skills. Today, our presentation will be about the value of work. Understanding the value of work is really one of the most important basic elements of workforce readiness. Understanding the value of work will also help you understand your essential motivations in finding and keeping a job, and also help you find the value of work that is the most important for you. So the most important features of a job. Understanding this will ultimately help you find that career that will be where that you'll be most talented in, and the career that you'll find the most fulfillment out of. So without much further ado, let's get started. So once again, today's presentation is about the value of work. Okay, so let's go on to the second slide. So many of us want to find a job where we could just say that we love, right? So we want to find a job that we could just say that we totally enjoy. It's important to know what people work for and the different reasons it's important for them. Okay, so it's important for them to understand their own motivations in working. And while you're doing this presentation, it's important for you to consider the different reasons why you are motivated to find work. Helping to understand these motivations will help us take action, help during your job search, and also help you keep moving forward when your job becomes difficult. The motivations of your career is kind of like the fuel of your car, so you have to have enough motivation to move forward with it. So let's say, for example, I really enjoy working at a school because I love education, and I believe that education is a right for everyone. So having that motivation will help me as a teacher when my job becomes difficult, when I have challenging new assignments, and when I have to really kind of push through it. Okay, having that driving force will help me when my job becomes very busy as well. It will also help me with my assignments when my assignments become challenging. It'll also help me stay focused on my career as the years go by. When we're doing this presentation, it's important for you to consider what motivations are important for you. So you could have many different motivations. For example, you could be very passionate about the medical field, and maybe you see yourself as a nurse or a doctor. As you could feel very passionate about criminal justice or police work, and you could see yourself as a police officer. There are many different motivations and reasons that you could have, and it's important for you to think about what your motivations are so that you could find that perfect job. Okay, so I really advise you just to just write it down somewhere, and it'll help you out a lot as you move forward in your career. Let's talk about what does it mean to value something, or what does it mean to value your motivations. Generally, people value something that they see has worth to them. They value something that has special meaning, and they also value something that they can't do without. We all work for a variety of reasons. These reasons are based on external and internal factors, which we will go over and discuss further in the presentation. It's important for you to know that all work has value, and no matter what the job happens to be, it is very important. Okay. So what motivates you to work? There are generally external and internal factors that will help you understand your motivations. So this is a brief example. So external would be maybe the need for money and to gain lucrative employment. And then also the internal could be situations where you need to have a certain job or a certain responsibility to make you feel better about yourself. So that is also a big part of it too. Let's talk about the external wants. I'm sorry, the external needs. The external needs could include things like your basic necessities. These are things that you essentially need to survive. So you need to find you need to think about a job that will help you meet these external needs. And so these external needs may include things like food, housing. You need the need for housing, and you also have the need for transportation, medical care, and things of that sort. So these could be your essential external needs. External needs usually are the things that you need for your survival. So these are things that you need to really get by and survive on a daily basis. Not only can you consider your external needs, but also the external needs of your family. And so your family could also have needs as well. And so you could also choose to find a job or think of a job that you could seek out for that will help meet these external needs. Okay. There could be external wants as well. So external wants are things that you find important to yourself or that your family finds important for them, but are not necessarily something that's required for like the basic survival of your daily life. So, but these things may include things that could at times be considered luxuries, things like video games, things like sports, or things like sports entertainment, things like video games, and hanging out with friends and things of that sort. Okay, so there could be external wants as well. There are also internal factors that could be part of your motivation. So these are not tangible. These means that they're not material needs, but they're important needs nonetheless. Sometimes people may have motivations to work because it's important for their self-confidence, their self-esteem. They're looking for competence in a certain field or a promotion, and they also really enjoy developing a skill. They enjoy certain types of social interactions, and they also seek awards or recognitions in a certain field. So they are also important factors that you should keep in mind when putting together your motivations. For example, you may want to be a chef because cooking delicious food and working within that environment can help you build that self-esteem and that self-confidence associated with creating delicious food. So to some extent, being a chef may help you feel like an artist and may help you find that enjoyment and fulfillment that you need. Okay, so also keep in mind the internal non-tangible needs that you have in searching and finding for a career. Let's talk about the pluses and minuses of working. One of the big pluses of working is that you'll be able to receive money for the work you're producing. So this usually translates into more money for recreation, food, videos, video games, rent, transportation, and will give you a sense of independence. Work also allows you to get out of the house, and so that at times may be nice. Okay, so it's nice to get out of the house every now and then to be in a different environment and to maybe be productive in a different sense. Okay, so working will also allow you to be more productive. But what does this mean? You may really enjoy being productive in a certain way. So, for example, if you go to an office and you have projects and you complete projects, and every week you could like to complete 2 or 3 or 4, there's a sense of really joy in doing that production. So it could help you be productive in that sense. Working also gives you a sense of accomplishments. So it'll also give you that sense of accomplishment of being productive. Maybe you have a sense of accomplishment for being at a certain job for certain years. And so being at a job for 5 or 10 years really fills you with a lot of enjoyment. That is a big plus of work. And also, a big plus of work is right here it says, get my parents off my back. So, but just generally speaking, sometimes your parents, they or your loved ones may have a lot of joy in seeing that you're doing something that you enjoy. So, or seeing that you're being productive in a certain way. And so that is also a big plus of work. So these are just only a couple pluses of work that we have here, but you could think of others. And maybe there's a job that gives you certain benefits, and so that's another big plus of work, right? And maybe it sends you to a different environment or different location if you're traveling. That's also a big plus of work. So when you're looking for different jobs, keep in mind that there could be different pluses of work. With that, let's take a look at the next aspect of it, which would be the minuses of work. So there are some inherent minuses to work or cons to working. So one of which would be less free time. So if you're working a job that is 30 or 40 hours a week, or maybe 60 or plus hours a week, you could kind of think that you're going to have less time for friends and your favorite video games and watching movies. So there is that minus of work. On top of that, there is transportation. So there could be a minus of work that maybe every day you have to spend an hour commuting. And so as you could think, 1 hour a day per 5 days a week, that's 5 hours. So that could be a con. The fear of unknown. Sometimes going to work may expose you to the fear of unknown. So that could be maybe new environments, new challenges, new things of that sort. That could be a plus or minus. Maybe you really enjoy new challenges on a daily basis. Okay, but that is something to consider. Another minus of work is that you could have new coworkers and bosses that are not very friendly at times, and so, generally, it could kind of weigh on you, but you may have to find different ways to work with new coworkers or bosses. So that's could be a minus. On a plus side, your bosses or coworkers could be very nice people, and you may really enjoy it. And so you may enjoy interacting with them and talking to them throughout the day as you work. And so that could also be, I guess that could be a plus or minus. Okay. Another minus could be keeping a schedule. So if you're working, you are going to need to keep a schedule. You're going to need to show up on time. You're going to need to be able to complete your assignments on time and leave on time. If you have different commitments, or if you have family responsibilities, you may need to kind of keep a tidy schedule so you are able to complete all your goals. Okay, and then finally, transportation concerns may be a plus or minus, but when searching for what you value in a job, you may choose that maybe proximity is a big thing for you, and so it's important for you to find a job that is nearby. So depending on your situation, whether you're going to work on a bus, in a car, or on a bike, you may need to keep that in mind when thinking about the values of work. And so for minuses of working, there could be other minuses you could think of, but these are just general things. Okay, so when you're looking for a job, you have to think about what are your talents, what are things you're good at, and what are things you enjoy doing. Okay, think about that. Just take some time and maybe write it down. It's important for you to keep these in mind. Keep in mind what are your talents. Okay, so maybe you're a person that works well with others and you have this inherent ability to work with people through their problems. Maybe you're really good on the phone. Maybe you could help calm people that are upset. If you have these qualities, it's it's a talent that's very good, and it could help you find jobs, and be successful at jobs. Okay, so like for example, if you're good at talking to people over the phone, helping people through their problems, and calming upset people down, that can make you a very successful customer service person. And so you could think maybe you should look for a customer service job. And if you really excel at those qualities, you may be able to find that job a little bit easier than your other colleagues, and you'll be able to do very well in that job. And if you do very well in that job, you'll be able to progress in your career, possibly get promotions, possibly get raises, things of that sort. Okay, so if you have to keep your strengths in mind, and think about what your strengths are. Maybe you're a really good communicator, and maybe that can help you find a job in customer service or something. FYI, being a really good communicator, just in general, will help you in any career. So keep in mind how you communicate with people, how you interact with people, and it'll always help you out in any job. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Also, keep in mind that all work has value. So work involves certain expectations which are necessary for success. So there's four general things that you should keep in mind with this. So there is the accepting the role of the worker, accepting the mental aspects of work, accepting the social interactions of work, and also the physical aspects of work. Okay, for this example, we have custodial work, and one of the items of accepting the role of the worker is that you have to accept the responsibilities that come with that job. So for as a custodial worker, you could keep in mind that it could be required for you to always keep in mind how the facility is doing. You have to keep in mind how you have to keep the facility clean and safe, and you have to make that a role that you really enjoy doing. Okay, so for the mental aspects of custodial work, you have to keep in mind that custodial work may call on you to do different tasks every day. And so one day you may have like a cleanup that you have to do, or another day you may have to repair something. So, and not only that, but you have to do this rather quickly, as quickly as possible, and without having it become a bigger issue ultimately. Okay, so for the social interactions of work, you also have to keep in mind that as a custodial work, you may have to interact with people in a way that'll help you complete your tasks. And so you may have to learn how to communicate with people to see what's wrong. You may have to learn to communicate with people to see how best to achieve your ability to complete something. So for example, you have to learn how to ask strategic questions. And so you may have to ask, like, what's wrong? How can we fix it? What if I do this? Will that fix the issue? And being able to find different solutions for your custodial tasks. And so that could also help you. And then also there's the physical aspect of the work. So as a custodial work, you may have to do very physical work. So you may have to do a lot of walking. You may have to crouch, or you may have to walk around. You may have to mop, or you may have to fix. You may have to reach above or reach below, things of that sort. Okay, so there's different aspects of working. So keep these expectations in mind, and that should help you. So let's take a look at work expectations. And so for work expectations, you have to keep in mind there's just the general role of the worker that is essential for all jobs. So not custodial, not police work, not a teaching work, but it's just general across the board for all jobs. And so that role of the worker would be that you have to have good attendance. So you have to be reliable. You have to follow work rules, and so if your work environment provides work rules that you have to abide by, you have to abide by those rules. And if you break the rules, there could be consequences. And so you have to follow the work rules. Generally, the place that you're working at will provide the work rules for you, and they'll usually provide like a training for you at the very beginning. Okay, so you just have to make sure that you kind of abide by those rules and that you don't deviate too much from those rules. And so you are going to be required to attend to tasks. And so these are your daily tasks that you have to do. And so you're going to have to do attending to tasks. You're also going to have to complete those tasks, not only start them. And so you have to kind of carry those tasks into completion always. Okay, so you're also going to be required to follow instructions, and at times following instructions could be a little challenging. It could be hard to memorize all the instructions that you're given. So that's why it's important to keep a notepad with you and just kind of take notes. Just if your supervisor asks you to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps, you have to be able to complete those with sufficient detail and accurately. Okay, so it's always good to keep your notepad handy and to write down detailed notes so that you are aware of the things that you have to complete. Another thing that you may have to do is also correct errors. Okay, so with work, generally you want to be able to complete your work error-free. And so you always want to make sure that you minimize the amount of errors. But if they do exist and if they do happen, you need to be able to correct those errors. Okay, so being able to do that would be a very important part of the role of the worker. And then finally, there is personal appearance. And so there's, as a worker, you may have certain standards for personal appearance. And so this could include anything down to like how you dress, how you're grooming, the way that you may present yourself, things of that sort. Okay, so maybe you have to wear a uniform. And so you have to keep in mind that you have to keep your personal appearance to the standard of the work environment. At the work environment, they'll let you know what the standards are. But generally, like if you're in a certain line of work, it might be assumed that you may, for example, may need to wear formal attire. So whether you wear a tie or not, or whether you wear a uniform or not, will help you understand. Will help you. You gotta keep in mind those requirements. Okay. So generally, just before you start a job, just have a brief conversation with your supervisor about what their expectations are, and that should help you with your personal appearance. Okay. There's also mental aspects to work that you could keep in mind of. So things like positive attitude, taking initiative / independence, being adaptable, accepting responsibility, handling stress and being able to focus under the stress, and being able to learn things rather quickly. Okay, so having a positive attitude, that's always a really good plus. If you have a positive attitude and you're able to kind of complete your work with a positive attitude, that's good. So positive attitude doesn't necessarily mean that you're happy all the time, but that it means that that you have that personality where you're able to move forward with the tasks of the day, and you're able to match the attitude of the day and the scenario, and being able to complete that can-do attitude. And so it doesn't necessarily have to mean that you're happy all the time, but that you have that can-do attitude to complete certain tasks. Taking initiative, that means that that you don't have to wait for someone to tell you to complete something, but but you're able to complete it without people having to ask you to do something. So also taking an initiative that kind of talks towards not having to be supervised too much or being micromanaged. You want to have some good independence and be able to think critically about your job and be able to complete the work without having someone necessarily tell you that you need to complete it. Okay, so adaptability, that means that you need to be able to adapt to different environments and to learn. Okay, so in the job environment, you may be able to you may need to be able to adapt to different scenarios, and so being able to adapt and being able to be flexible will help you. Okay, so handling stress. With different jobs, you may have different stress levels. It may fluctuate. You may have slow days, you may have fast days, but being able to handle the stress and being able to focus, that's really important. Also, the ability to learn. So at work, you'll need to be able to learn how to do certain things. And so being able to pick up those skills rather quickly will help you meet those work expectations. Other work expectations could be social appropriate interactions. So this includes with supervisors, with coworkers, with customers, and being able to keep the communication style that is common in that work environment. That would help you. Also, other physical aspects of work would include performing work or tasks to a certain quality level, to a certain quantity, which means that if you're expected to complete 20 cases a week or a month, you'll have to meet that quantity requirement. Also, there might be a physical tolerance as well, and also work skill physical aspects that you may have to keep in mind. Okay, so with this, we get to the final slide of the presentation, which talks about how does this all help me go to work. So in today's presentation, we talked about the value of work and the different things you should consider. Okay, so you should consider the expectations of work, what your values are, what your needs and wants are, and what are the general things that you're looking to get out of work. So if you get a good understanding of that, and if you understand your talents, you're able to put together a good plan for yourself to find that career that will really fulfill your needs, both external and internal. And also, it'll also help you find the information that'll help really build a nice resume for yourself. Okay, so keep that in mind when you're reviewing this presentation. And as you move forward in your career path, keep in mind what items you value in a job and see how that matches up with your career path. Okay, so if you value your career path, generally it's going to be easier for you to move forward in your career and to really stick with that career when it gets tough. Let's face it, every now and then our jobs may be difficult. We may have new assignments. We may have different environments that we have to be adaptable to. And so if you have that value for that job that you have, it'll help you move forward and help you stick with your plans throughout the years. Okay, so that's it for this week. So thank you for joining us for this week's of Workforce Readiness. I really appreciate you joining us, and please take a look at this week's module whenever you're ready. Okay, so there should be an assignment at the end of the module. Just go ahead and complete that, and that'll be it for this week. So thank you once again for joining us, and have a good one.